up to 3 weeks after birth, a woman can give a baby to a police station or fire station and they'll take it, no questions asked, no name, no nothing. And I was like, a man does not have that choice. And he's basically forced to finance a decision he has no choice in. Like, I'm pro-choice. I believe a woman should have the choice of what she does with her body, if or when she has a child. I feel like not only does she benefit from that, but wider society benefits in the sense that we're not forcing women to have children they don't want.
Then don't have sex. Do men have reproductive rights, or is this purely for women? Today, we're going to react to a super controversial video that I haven't even seen yet. Chris Williamson on his podcast is interviewing George The Tinmen.
The Tinmen.
This is going to be very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. But today, welcome back to the Wilson Brothers channel. I'm David. This is Isaac.
What's up, guys?
We haven't released as much content lately. We've been going crazy, but we're excited to get back on track. So it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, let's go.
Do you think that men have reproductive rights?
Not in the context of the way we discuss like pro-choice. Like, I'm pro-choice. I believe a woman should have the choice of what she does with her body, if or when she has a child. I feel like not only does she benefit from that, but wider society benefits in the sense that we're not forcing women to have children they don't want.
Then don't have
sex. If you look at the data, unwantedness causes a huge amount of issues later in life. A child born to an unwanted mum, for example, is more likely to be a criminal. I like to apply that to men too, who don't have the same choice. So like after conception, a man's choice to be a father is gone. He's sort of beholden to the woman's wishes, which is quite right. He should not be able to choose if she keeps or has an abortion, in my opinion.
Wow.
He's coming along for the ride, whether he likes it or not. He has no choice. His choice was to wear a condom or not. And whatever reason, maybe he did. If she becomes pregnant, there's no choice left. She can, have a morning after pill. She can have an abortion. She has safe haven laws, which basically mean that up to 3 weeks after birth, a woman can give a baby to a police station or fire station, and they'll take it, no questions asked, no name, no nothing. And I was like, a man does not have that choice, and he's basically forced to finance a decision he has no choice in. And this is something that's called a paper abortion, or more recently called voluntary parental surrender, which is a hypothetical right, which doesn't exist, for a man to forfeit all privileges and responsibility to a child he doesn't want, as long as A, he tells the mum to be early in the pregnancy so she can make an informed choice, B, he contributes to the medical fees of childbirth.
There's two different things he's tackling right here. One I agree with and one I don't. The first thing he said of he doesn't believe that men should have a say, that it's purely up to the woman because her body, her choice, the whole argument that everyone uses for the end of eternity.
But she wouldn't be pregnant without me.
But this is the problem. He's saying that it is only her body. It's not. It is my seed growing inside of her.
Yeah.
So that whole fallacy is completely wrong because it's not just her body. There is something else inside her body that is not of her body. It is an actual life.
90% of biologists agree that life begins at conception.
Yeah, and
so
even
it's scientifically proven that it's no longer just your body anymore once that seed begins to grow.
Yeah. If in space they found a single-celled bacteria, then it's considered life.
Yeah.
But then you can have a heartbeat in a woman's body, but it's not considered life. The second part that he said I really agree with, that men should have more rights.
Yes.
That if it is, you do a DNA test, you can say, hey, I want to do a DNA test. And once the DNA has been proven that you are the father, you should have some level of say. If the woman doesn't want to have the kid, then okay, you should have the right to say, okay, well, I want it. And I can then raise it on my own terms, or raise it with my family, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. So I agree with him in terms of the legality that men are kind of screwed.
Yeah.
So
they have to do child support, but they have no say in whether the child actually gets killed or not.
Yeah. So I don't understand this guy, because on one hand he's saying women should have the right because it's their body, but then he's sharing all the problems with our legal system.
So let's see if he actually creates a circle here.
Come on, bring me on your side, buddy, because you're making me sad.
It doesn't exist. A lot of pro-choice feminists support it, like Karen DeCrow, and she was saying like an autonomous woman making a unilateral decision should not expect a man to finance that choice. And I get it. It's a very controversial thing. People think it gives men the ability to be sort of deadbeats and step out of childhood. And there are some fair criticisms. I don't necessarily think I support or unsupport it. I want to have that discussion. I want to know, what might these rights look like for men? Can we give men more choice? And is forcing men to be dads to children they don't want going to have the exact same problem as the same what happened to women, where it was causing like a generation of unwanted, more likely to be criminal children? And we all know the links between fatherlessness and crime, juvenile crime in boys. And I want to know, is giving choice to men and fathers going to help them make that choice to be a committed parent? As I feel like a parent that's chosen to be one is more likely to raise a child that's happy and healthy. And that's why I'm pro-choice for both men and women. Yeah.
What do you say to the people who would claim if you didn't want to be a father, you shouldn't have had sex?
Thank you. I mean, there's a feminist slogan that says consenting to sex is not consenting to parenthood. And I agree. And that applies to men and women. Like, you'll see that sign on placards.
Hold on.
outside,
So you're saying
You're just taking away take personal responsibility. If you have sex, you might get pregnant. You have to take responsibility for your actions. It's bereft of
consent
you want
to
to have
sex is
you
not
want to
the
have a
same.
choice to end the life, but you don't want to have the choice to actually know that if you have sex, then something might happen.
Consent to sex
just-
is
it's
not
just
the
a lack
same
of-
as consent to parenthood.
It's a lack of responsibility.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
First of all, if you don't want to be a parent,
Selective reasoning.
give the child up for adoption. There was a stat that I think there's 1 million children in the United States right now. Actually, I think it was Andrew Tate that brought this up. There's 1 million kids in the United States that are in the foster care system. And there's 2 million people or couples that want to have adopted children.
Yep.
But because our system is so screwed up,
So
they have to
expensive
spend
too.
10 to 20 grand. They have to do
Minimum 20.
Yeah, they have to do GoFundMe's wait years in order to actually have that opportunity. So the problem is our system is so screwed up that now people think, okay, I have to kill the child or else
That child could be raised as he's talking about as a criminal.
yeah.
To an unwanted pregnancy. So you're assuming before the child even comes into this earth, you're not even giving it a chance. You're just assuming it's going to be a criminal. And then the make adoption easier, make it cheaper, make it more affordable.
Yeah, he's saying that no life is better than a potential criminal life.
I do agree, though. I do agree with the pro-choice movement on one thing.
What?
I agree that adoption is very hard.
Oh, no. The legal system is screwed up.
And so they say, well, if it's that hard, you're going to make it hard on the mother. You're going to make it hard on, that potential family. Then why have it at all? I don't agree with the why have it at all part. I believe that adoption should be easier. And if so, then there can actually be realistic change and abortion rates would go down, in my opinion.
In protests held by feminists, consenting to sex is not consenting to parenthood. Some people disagree. That's my personal belief, and I like to extend that. I feel like
He's
I think
annoying.
like 1 in 10 men in America
His voice
have
makes me
been
angry.
forced or had a partner try to trick them into getting pregnant when they didn't want to. 1 in 10. So that's like the classic thing of like, oh, I'm on a pill. Oh, no, I'm not. Baby trapping, I suppose you'd call it that. And I'm like, well, they should have a choice. There are men who have been raped that have been legally compelled to pay child support.
Okay. No, hold on.
Wait,
Hold
what?
on. Hold on.
Wait,
Hold on.
Wait, what?
No, hold on. You cannot tell me. First of all, men, I'm sorry. If you get raped, then you were just such a weak man to begin with. Now, granted, if you get taken in by like the Russian mafia and they just have a bunch of women there and they're like, hey, we're going to impregnate all these women, I feel very sorry for you. You're probably 1 out of 150 million. So
Can you
again,
can you rewind it 10 seconds? I want to hear exactly the context behind what he's saying.
this is ridiculous.
Baby trapping, I suppose you'd call it that. And I'm like, well, they should have a choice. There are men who have been raped that have been legally compelled to pay child support. They didn't have a choice either. And boys, there have been boys that have been raped by babysitters, teachers, and they grow up like 4 or 5 years later, and then they're served court documents saying you owe this much money in child support. And I'm like, they didn't have a choice either. What? So
Again, you are doing the very rare situations as this is a reason to not.
Well, that's the argument that
Yeah.
they use, is that it's the point.
If it
what is
happens.
it? The percentage of abortions that are done due to incest
It's like
or rape.
1%,
Point-
1 to 2%, if that.
Yeah, and they use that as the overarching argument.
It's
It's not
Dude.
intelligent. It's bereft of intelligence.
men need to take responsibility. Just look at this guy. You can tell that he doesn't
Yeah.
take any responsibility.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He thinks that people should just be able to run around
Why
and
is
do
Chris
whatever
having
they
him
want.
on the podcast?
I hope Chris runs into him. If all Chris does is just interview him and just ask him questions, I'm going to be mad. I normally like a podcaster that just lets someone talk because...
But in this situation, you do need
because you have a guest on your channel because they add value. So you want to hear from them.
Yeah.
But when you have somebody like this that is talking about the legal system, which he's correct in, but then using all these situations of people that were taken advantage of by their teacher...
Which is so rare.
So rare, dude. There's... horrible situations. Come on, dude. You can't make that the norm.
Very complicated. And I just don't think this meme of, well, you shouldn't have had sex is particularly, not a very modern perspective, in my opinion. And it certainly doesn't apply to women. Unless you're, of course, pro-life.
I suppose this tumbles down from reproductive rights into custody rights as well. I haven't actually seen you write much about this, although you post a lot on your Instagram, so I very well may have missed it. What's the TLDR of fatherhood custody rights?
In America, probably best to talk about it. So what a lot of people want is called a presumption of joint child custody. I think I got that right. And what that means is that the father and mother who are fighting for custody enter court on a level playing field. It's a presumption that we're going to have a shared child custody here. Currently, that doesn't exist. That only exists in 2 states. I think one of them's Kansas. Florida was going to bring it in, but it got thrown out because of so much campaigning against it by, ironically, the National Organization for Women, which is the biggest feminist group in America. They were the ones that are campaigning against equality, which is just doesn't make any sense. So presumption of shared custody basically allows both parents to go in, level playing field, and they basically build their case from there. They say, well, I earn this much, I have this much free time, and then obviously people start making accusations of abuse, and it becomes very messy in family court. But like I said, that presumption of shared child custody only exists in maybe 2, perhaps 3 states.
Pause it?
It's increasing.
I have some.
But
all right, so I have something to say on this. From a lot of men that I know that either have gotten a divorce and that are battling for custody of their kids, men have almost 0 rights in family court.
100%.
The judicial system is stacked against men in court. And that's one thing I agree with Pearl on. Pearly things, if you guys know who she is, a lot of what she says is absolutely benign to me. But she does make a good point that the court system is stacked against men in family court. Men are looked at as guilty until proven innocent, and women are looked at as innocent until proven guilty.
Oh, 100%.
It's just the way it is.
The feminist movement or organization that he's talking about, it's so staggering to me.
You want
that the woke people and also the feminists want to have the same equal rights as what men have, but then they don't want men to have the same rights as them.
Yep.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah, it's a double standard.
It's a double standard.
Yep.
So they want to be equal to us, but they don't want us to be equal to
them. And we're
them.
not anti-women. We're just we're pro-level playing field.
Yeah.
Equal opportunity, not equal outcome. You're going to have equal opportunity. You should have equal opportunity in court to fight for your children and have equal custody.
Especially because as a man, you're a better provider. Yeah. That's just, normally if we're talking about in these situations, a man and a woman get married, they have kids, more times than not. Again, we're talking about the norm, people. All right, listen to me. We're talking about the norm. Mostly the father's one providing most of the income. The wife might have some job, but she's usually the one raising the kids.
Yes.
And from what I've seen, if she is given sole custody of the kids and the man just has to pay alimony, which again, I think he should pay some level of something to help provide for his kids and wife, which a lot of men, especially in the red pill space, don't think. Like, no, you have some level of responsibility.
Yes.
But even then, the only way she's going to survive is off the government. Have you noticed that? The government likes that because then the woman has to be reliant on them in order to survive with her kids. And while the men can just go out there and make money and he's fine. So it puts the women in these situations where they have no ability to improve their life. They just have to be with their kids and then hopefully maybe put them in daycare or something and try to get a job and start from nothing. So that's the problem with making it so that women automatically get the kids.
Yep. Let's see what he has to say about the judicial system and how it's broken.
And in England, in the UK, it's even worse. Like in the UK, and if you're not married, you are screwed.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you're not married or named on the birth certificate as a father, you have no rights to that child.
Oh, yeah. You said this about, this was your justification for why men should get married, or this is part of your justification for why men should get married.
I don't know if I made that argument, but if you want to have equal rights to your child, you should be married. Yeah. And I just think that's, imagine a woman not having rights to something unless she was married to a man. That is ultimate. That is like the ultimate patriarchy definition. Like you have to be married if you want equal rights. That's exactly how it exists in the UK for fathers. You have to be married or named on the birth certificate. And in both instances, the mother can just be like, no, I'm not going to marry you. I'm not going to name you. And then she has full control of that child's life. You have none. And she'll have full rights no matter what. She doesn't have to be married. She can be single, divorced, separated, or married, doesn't matter. She has full rights to the child, not in the UK. And not for men. And it's not much better in America. But if you want to see serious systemic sexism, then just go and spend a few hours outside a family court and talk to some of the fathers coming out, and you'll hear some stories that will change your mind, I think.
Wow.
That's
always been my argument.
I kind of like him now.
So I like that point.
Yeah,
Again,
I like what he had to say about that, because it is true. I mean, most of the friends that I know, like I said before, in family court, men get screwed.
Especially if you're not married. If you think it's bad when you get married, if you don't get married, you have no rights.
Zero.
And that's been one of my biggest arguments, because I know people that say they don't want to get married, they just want to have loads of kids. I'm like, do you realize that the woman could just leave? Like, you could be gone at work and she could leave you, but because you have nothing legally tying you to her, do you know what you're going to have to do?
Yeah.
It's
funny. A lot
if
of
she doesn't want you on the birth certificate, she can say no.
A lot of men say, "Well, I don't trust the legal system." I'm like, okay, then you trust the woman more.
You're only trusting the woman in that situation.
Let me rephrase that. You're only trusting the woman in that scenario. And let's be real, people change, especially if you get married. Like you and Linda, you guys changed after 10 years of marriage, right? You're different people.
If we weren't legally married, it's
a lot easier to leave.
It's way easier to leave.
Yeah.
Even if you have a kid. I mean, you can just walk out the door, and the government's probably not going to ask you to pay alimony. And yes, you might not have to give them half of your income, as they say. So I understand all that. But again, you're giving the woman the power to walk away.
Yeah, men, comment below if you're a single father or you're in a relationship and you've had that issue in family court. Tell us your story. Tell us the issues and the problems that you're going through, because ultimately it comes down to legislation, being in, city council or having it. People think it always starts in the federal government, but it actually starts in the state and local government. That's how you can change laws and get more rights as a father to be able to see your kids or have joint custody. But let us know your stories below. We look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode. Peace.